I'm Brent Leary.
I'm Paul Greenberg.
Guess what? One of us is Vegas and one of us is not. Oh,
What?
wait a minute. You are in Vegas. I'm so used to saying that now. All right, we're both in Vegas. This is like the first time this year, isn't it?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. First conference after IRL.
Absolutely. So, what brings us to Vegas? Besides the airplane and all that stuff, it is PegaWorld 2025,
It is.
right? It is.
I just showed up.
And so many people are so glad to see you because this is the first kind of thing you've been at all year outside of our event, I guess.
Yeah, it literally is I did my calculations. I've missed 11 conferences or
but
summits,
but
analyst
who's
summits.
counting? Yeah.
Not me.
So we are here because in a few minutes, the PegaWorld opening keynote will be going on. That means the one and only Alan Treffler will be taking the stage amongst all the other great executives here at Pega, by the way. So
Yeah,
we
but
are
he's always so much fun. He's certainly one of our best guests ever. That's for sure.
absolutely. Well, we could say that about a couple of those folks. Of course, John Shoreman is also
Yeah,
here. So
we just saw him.
no, we're not doing this alone. Of course, we're doing our knee-jerk reactions to whatever we hear. We don't know what's going to be said. Oh, we kind of have an idea, but we don't know how it's going to be said. And so what we're doing is not only you and I, but we've assembled another crew of people to join us. Oh, wait, you're assembling another camera and a light and something like that.
I'm
Okay.
going to see how it works. Why not? Why not? It may or may not do much, but I don't really have it set, but we'll try.
Well, while you do that, let me introduce who's joining us because, as usual, Rebecca is here, and she's. Where are you today, Rebecca?
Hi,
Good
Rebecca.
morning. Good morning. Good morning.
Where are you these days?
I am chez moi.
Chez moi means at
Oh,
my,
okay. Well, I don't.
basically at me, meaning my home in this
Oh
case.
no. The only way we are sure that you are home is if
Okay, she's making sure we know.
there. Now we know she's
Okay,
home.
now we're certain she is
Now
home.
we know, and Patrick looks very happy, so that's the other reason we know she's home. All right. Well, in addition to Rebecca and Patrick joining us, we are also joined all the way from across the pond. Adrian Swinscoe is here with us.
There's the man.
We are really glad to see you. After everything that's going on for you, we are really glad to see you.
We are
Well, thank you
glad.
so much.
And actually, by the way, you look pretty damn good.
Yeah, I was just explaining to kind of Brent just off kind of camera. I mean, for anybody that's listening in, it's a note of interest. I have, for the first time in my life, had a bout of sciatica. For the last kind of two months, it has been stiff and painful and uncomfortable and things. And this actually celebration is my first day back in the studio office
All right.
after 2 months.
Wow.
Can't keep a good guy down. All right.
No, you can't.
And we are expecting another good guy lately. Not lately, but at some point. I'll keep an eye out for him and we'll introduce him when he comes in. But it looks like I see some movement here. It's 8:57. Let me just prop up what's going on. Keynotes are starting soon. So there you go. We got that coming off. So I'll keep an eye out for whatever starts. But before that gets started, why don't we get go around the horn, so to speak, although that show just got canceled. Sorry about that. Really like that show. Get everybody's take on what are they looking forward to hearing from the keynote today. So Rebecca, why don't you start us off?
I don't think they'll talk about AI at all.
Yeah, okay. I'll take that bet.
I'll be listening to hear how Pega's differentiating its platform approach and its agent approach from what we've heard from other folks this season.
Oh, all right, Adrian.
I'm really looking forward to. Pega's always taken, they've always been great in terms of developing the platform and their approach, but it's always had a very sort of like pragmatic approach in terms of embedded in the kind of real world. And I just want to see how they're going to take a whole bunch of this hype and excitement and tie it down to real impact and driving better outcomes.
Well, I don't think you and I should say, Brent, because we were pre-briefed. So
yeah,
we
so was
literally
I. So,
know what's going to be in the keynote. So
yeah,
we could cheat and say, "Oh my God, they showed everything we wanted."
Well, kind of like, yeah. I mean, are we going to get their blackballed in terms of embargoes and stuff?
No, I think we're
not.
okay. Actually, technically, 9 o'clock, it's free of embargo. Which is
Oh, there you go.
now.
Well, we got a minute before that happens.
Oh,
all right, we're going to say everything that's going to happen in the next minute. No, I'm just kidding. I'm looking forward to seeing how they address the audience around not just the, there's some interesting things, but I wonder if they're going to introduce talk about pricing in this keynote, because we've been to a lot of these things this year. There's some vendors that have been very mushy and nebulous. They love talking about their agentic AI stuff, but when it comes to pricing it, it's not quite the same thing. So I want to see how that's addressed.
I mean, I guess from my standpoint, look, in 2024, unbeknownst to anybody but myself, Bluprint was my product of the year, right? Literally the best product I saw at anything, anywhere, period. So obviously what they're doing with Bluprint will be, to me, exceptionally interesting.
All right, so we are waiting just to see when they get started. I'll bring this back up. Still saying keynotes to start soon. And of course, I've been on this kick all year long about this is the one time of the year where the vendor is going to get their most eyeballs and attention. I'm just curious to see how they use that. I think they're planning on 2 hours. How are they planning on using that? How they address that? And looks like PG just dropped off. I don't know what happened, but we'll keep an eye out for him. Maybe something happened in Vegas. Whatever happens in Vegas typically stays here, but we'll see. I know he doesn't want to stay here in Vegas. So. But anyway, yeah, the overall. Oh, there he is. Let's see.
And with
we were wondering what happened to you. We thought Vegas got you. Oh, okay. Yeah. Well, I might be on the lookout for that too. But anyway, just the overall. How did they approach this? The one point in the year where they're going to have the most eyeballs and most attention, not just the folks in the room, but the virtual. So how do they handle the virtual experience too? I think that's one I'm not sure about. So we'll see how that goes along. So yeah, there are things that we can talk about. And by the way, it is 9:01, so we can talk about anything we want. Yeah. So we're good to go. Does Patrick have any opening thoughts there, Rebecca?
Patrick's exhausted.
He was up all night studying kind of Pega documentation and code.
He woke me up at 5 o'clock this morning just saying blueprint.
He made several blueprints.
Can you say that in a woof voice?
He can.
He can.
Let's see what kind of theme music they have going. I have it muted, but let's see what they have. If we start that kind of stuff too. Oh,
I thought that initial one kind of had shades of what's the one with Kevin Bacon where he's doing the kind of dancing one.
Yeah,
which one? Footloose. There you go.
Rebecca, do you want to sing it along with that? Or? And right on time is Mr. Brian Summer. He's joining us also in Vegas.
There he is.
There he is. Yeah. So Brian, before everything gets started, we're asking everybody what are they looking forward to see? So what are you looking forward to seeing this week?
I'm looking for some really differentiating positioning with all of the agentic talk from all the ERP and ServiceNows and other vendors of the world. I want to really hear how they're going to distinguish themselves. That's one thing I'm going to be listening for. The other thing is I want to hear what kind of success they're having in getting more than just super large entities to embrace this technology. And if they're going to mention much about how they're going to push it down market a bit, that would be an interesting bit to hear.
Okay. Adrian, you mentioned in the private chat, or you also want to be looking forward to seeing Rob tomorrow. Rob.
Yeah, I just think the Rob doesn't. Last time I think Rob was on stage was probably about more than 5 years ago, I think.
Really?
Yeah, I think so. And he's great. I mean, he always tells a brilliant story. I mean, he's he's a monster of a man. He's about 6'5", and he looks like a rock star. But he's got the brain the size of a planet, and he's a fantastic storyteller as well. And so I'm really looking forward to hearing him talk tomorrow.
What a combination! Looks of a rock star, brain like a planet. That's kind of hard to like duplicate.
It kind of puts him in the level of a god, I think.
Well, we'll see.
All right, so we're a few minutes a little running late. I hope I'm on the right site. Yeah, it looks like I'm on the right site. Let's see. Wonder if I refresh if that does it.
Try. Give it a shot.
Let's see. Looks like it didn't do anything.
Not a thing.
So we're just waiting to see what's going on here. Looking forward, anxious for waiting the keynote.
Notice that
the music is, very Vegas like that.
Yeah, kind of elevator music.
So I'll keep an eye out for when things start to jump off. So anything else going on while we wait? Anything other interesting industry kind of stuff going on?
Well, I have a general question for everybody. Is how do you see, when you think of Pega competitors specifically, like who are they?
Appian.
Okay.
Ratio.
ServiceNow lately is trying to get in that space.
Now, what market are you assuming Pega serves the enterprise market? And Brian, to your point, should also be serving more than that. What market are they serving?
Well, if you look at who they have for partners, and those partners are the EYs, Accentures, Cognizants, whatever, they serve very large enterprises.
Yeah.
And that is Pega's market, or has been Pega's market for years. So, I mean, that I think tells you all you need to know from a positioning perspective at the moment.
So, Rebecca, actually on that, what you just mentioned about Creatio. So I had a Pega person who doesn't know Creatio that well, particularly tell me yesterday. He said, yeah, I heard that Creatio is like us, but they serve the mid-market. So can you elaborate on what you're thinking?
Yeah, I mean, I guess the number of partners that I have seen, particularly smaller partners that have gone from Pega to Creatio, is something important to note. And I think we've seen Creatio go up market as well, and where they're trying to serve. So to Brian's point earlier about where is Pega beyond that enterprise space, I think in that intersection is where they're probably coming head to head more.
So does that mean like NetSuite territory? Let's say?
Yeah.
Let's go back to the ServiceNow. It does feel like being at ServiceNow Knowledge not that long ago and being here, I do feel like some of the messaging around workflows and automation and automated processes, autonomous enterprise. I do hear some similarities in how they are talking about it. Now, ServiceNow does have it developed. That might make it.
I mean, I wasn't at Knowledge among many other things. Yay. But ServiceNow always had, well, not always, since Bill McDermott came, has had the ambition, if you remember, to be, and they were actually at one point messaging around this, so they stopped, platform of platforms. They still are trying to move in that direction. One thing I did notice, and I've worked with them for a long time, actually, they and Zoho, my last two clients before I cut off everything completely. One thing I've always noticed about them is that even though they typically have served enterprises, they have absolutely no issues with trying to go, let's call it, to other markets. And in fact, have made a point of at least keeping their fingers in those other markets, which, to their credit, really. I mean, I remember they had partners like, 3C Logic and companies like that, who are more on the conversational voice AI market. But 3C Logic was called in to do almost everything the ServiceNow needed in that area. And according to even the guys at 3C Logic, who I've always been very friendly with, mid-market was part of that. And they've never had any issue with that, of course. But so ServiceNow, I think, becomes interesting in that I think they've always realized that they could go down market too, right? And to Brian and Rebecca's point, they will.
Keeping an eye out.
Interestingly enough, I remember speaking to somebody not so long ago, and I in a conversation with Pega, and asked them about the ServiceNow sort of competitive side of things, and they observed to me at the time that they hadn't met them very much in pitches, like head to head as yet.
That makes sense. 'Cause I honestly, from that standpoint, I don't think ServiceNow is actively going after it. I think that they're putting themselves into position to go after it if they want to.
Yeah.
Well, based on their switch in messaging, it sounds like they're going after something else too, or someone else, or another company that we all are pretty familiar with. Even though it seems like a lot of what their meat and potato is still workflow automation, platforms. So it'll be interesting to see how this all plays out.
I'll tell you, they are running very late for their keynote.
And look who's out there, Mr. Alan Burks.
Hey, Alan.
Hey, Alan. I'm making some setting changes, so don't mind me.
Let's see what's going on. Yeah, they're running pretty significantly late now.
Yeah, they sure are.
No, we're not late. We're fashionably redoing the whole process of loading people into a conference room. So
Well,
that's what's good.
I wonder how many people are at this one. I didn't hear any number.
I haven't heard a word. I mean, what did they have last year?
That's a good question. I don't think I remember.
I mean, I know typically, at least some of the ones I was at, they had like 10,000, I think, something along those lines. And I don't remember it growing terribly significantly from that, but I'm operating off of memory, so I have no idea.
Brian, they let you out of witness protection? I didn't know that.
They didn't let me out. I escaped. What can I say? In fact, I'm using a VPN right now to mask my
That's right.
Green screen to make you look like there's no prison bars.
He's in Tunisia.
He's just borrowed your decor, Brent, as his backdrop.
Right, I say green screens can do wonders.
I'm in solidarity with Brian. I'm using. We should try somebody should try to text Liz to see what's going on in the room.
I'll do that.
Liz is actually at the keynote in the arena. We need a not an affiliate. What do they call it? A correspondent in the actual.
That's right, a field correspondent.
Players.
We need boots on the ground.
Yeah.
I thought you had one, but that person was still in the check-in line to get into the MGM from yesterday.
Yeah, there was a bit of an issue with getting into a room here at the MGM. It's funny. It always seems to happen every year whenever I come to the MGM. It's always
Well, the digital check-in is horrible.
Yeah, if there ever was a prime prospect that Pega ought to be pursuing, it's the MGM Resorts properties, just to fix the check-in process. You know, one of the comments one of the executives at Pega made last night that I thought was interesting is they use this expression, they want to be playing nicely or kindly, whatever, with other people's in other people's sandboxes and playing really good in other other people's sandboxes. And I thought that was an interesting comment because it does point to one level of differentiation with some of the folks who are trying to build all this stuff within like an ERP stack. And it does kind of point that the ERP vendors are going to deal with their applications first and the opportunities with their tools, and then how they build out integration and pull this other stuff into this world, whether it's workflows, what have you, or AI capabilities, that's going to, lag. And whereas these guys aren't worried about an install base of any one particular ERP, I'm not saying that any one approach is going to get you to the finish line quicker or slower, but I thought from a prospect's perspective, they would find that kind of thing interesting because it shows a commitment to openness where you may not get that as much from an ERP vendor. And it looks like we're live.
Okay.
Yeah, let's bring it full screen here. Get some sound going.
By the way, I had just gotten a response from Liz when this happened.
It's like we're at a Pink Floyd concert.
Change. It's in the air. Have you noticed? Things that took months now take moments. What once seemed impossible is now imperative. Ideas flow into outcomes. Decisions evoke empathy. And autonomy has found its wings. Human brilliance and artificial intelligence has created the new era of partnership. This is the alchemy of modern business, and it's defining the autonomous enterprise of tomorrow. Change is in the air, and here is where you build for it. Here, workflows talk back. Agents follow your rules. And AI moves business beyond legacy noise and into self-optimized harmony. Step into 100,000 square feet of interactive solutions. Connect with leading minds across 300 brands. Let's meet at the wellspring of innovation and drink deep. What you learn here will guide the next era of transformation. Look around. This room is full of groundbreakers, and it's time to make the ground shake. Welcome to PegaWorld.
Please welcome Pega's founder and CEO, Alan Trefler.
For a second, I thought he was going to show up on one of those triangles and float in.
Float down from the ceiling.
Yeah, float down, exactly.
Hello, Pega. It is so wonderful to be here again. And it is such an exciting time. We're at so much of an intersection between technology that would have been considered unmanageable years ago and the needs of businesses which are more profound than ever. And we are honored here at Pega to have so many tremendous people, tremendous brands, tremendous companies joining us here to really explore the possibilities, to really understand what we can do together and how this partnership, which from my point of view has been just an amazing experience for, in effect,
It's a really
my
nice
whole
pan
adult
job
life,
they did.
how this partnership can continue to promote the best in both of us. You know, when I was thinking about a group here of innovators and creators, one of the questions I had was, how do you name them? You know, if you go to ChatGPT and you say, hey, what do you call a group of flamingos? And it will come back to you and say, hey, they're called the flamboyance of flamingos. So that was taken. Couldn't do that. Oh, you say, okay, let's go for somebody, something probably closer to our customer demographic. Let's go to the really wise and knowledgeable. And
Call them senior citizens.
What do you call a group of owls? And it's a parliament of owls, which doesn't sound very cheerful anyway. So we're not going to do that. So I went back to ChatGPT. I actually do this a lot. I'm in all the AIs, the Anthropic and the Gemini and the ChatGPT. I'm on all the time.
I'm giving my vote to Claude these days.
Get in information about this customer base, the people we will be drawing together, the people who stimulate us and we try to work with to really push the boundaries.
And they've reconfigured that, haven't they?
And you know what it came back with? And I thought this was prescient. They call you, AI calls you, a constellation of creators.
Well, Liz is going to feel good.
I was about to say, Ray and Liz are in forever now.
She's going to be standing up at the front going,
join me
Let's
here.
see how long it takes her to
creating
on LinkedIn or
enormous shift in technology.
We're suing.
Yeah, did you license that?
You're going to sue.
Now, one reason it's going to be mind-blowing is because of all this discussion of AI and because of the magical marketing introduction of agents that have come in.
Magical market.
It lends itself to the question, what do you want to call a group of agents that might come in to do stuff for you? I mean, they look friendly at first, but to tell you the truth, they could become a scary, disorganized mess. And the sad word that comes to mind here, without the right controls, is cacophony. A cacophony of agents doing stuff. Because God knows there are some people who tell you that you're going to need thousands of them, thousands and thousands of agents, driven by prompts, doing things. Now, of course, thousands of agents driven by individually written prompts are all going to do the exact same thing together. They're all going to do it right. Not so much. So our view here is that this is wonderful. There's an enormously powerful set of ideas here, ideas that have to be harnessed for this next generation of business. But what we see, these folks who want to do it with prompt engineering, we just see them doing it the wrong way and leading to unpredictability. And I was thinking about this, and I was brought back just last week to my earlier existence.
With some strong messages just kind of
my earlier existence
like woven in as well.
Has a couple of unusual features to it. One of which is I used to play chess a lot.
Wow.
And in fact, just last night,
that's June 2025
of Chess Life in Review. Thank you.
So that's why there's a delayed start. They were getting that into the presentation.
Rolling
right.
Stone
Came out.
Look at him with
we need a high res image.
No, if you were to go find my 15-year-old self, who sort of looks like the guy on that side there, I would have never viewed that this would be something that could be possible. But the reality is, oh, by the way, my wife, when she saw this picture, said, Thank God I didn't know you before you had a beard.
Wow.
He does look really young.
It might have 31-year marriage might have ended just like that. In fact, there's only one other person in this area who has seen me without a beard. I have carried this.
Not anymore.
As my shield and sword for many, many years. But notwithstanding, I know a bit about chess, not so much currently, but historically, and I still play, as you'll come to Tuesday to the Simul. And one of the things that comes out of that is people know I know about chess. And the Financial Times, which I subscribe to try to get one of the places I go for more of a worldly view of what's going on in the news, they sent me something just this past Tuesday. And it was a really interesting chess problem. National problem-solving event in the UK. So anybody from the UK, you can't use what you learn here to respond to this, or don't, please. Anyway, it sent me this problem, and the problem was, can you do a checkmate in 2 from this position? Now, I'll tell you, in this position, white is really winning. But a checkmate in 2 means, hey, there's some decisive wards. We can get after the king. We can go finish this off in just 2 moves. And I'm going to tell you, this is a really complicated position. This is a hard one. This is worth having a chess problem. And so I looked at it for a minute or two, and I couldn't see a way to force a mate in 2, regardless of what the other person did. So what did I do? Well, I cut the picture, because all these things are multimodal now. I dropped it into Chat's GPT 4.0 model, and I thought my work was done. So let me show you the actual dialogue between me and ChatGPT 4. It goes something like this. I go, all right, here's the position shown. White can deliver mate in 2. Here's the solution. It says, move the knight to a5, check. This is a check from the knight. Black has only one legal move. So I look at the board, and I say, okay, that's knight moving to a5. But it's not a check. It's not a check. So I type that back. NA5 is not a check. Now, these are learning systems. I'm sure it's just gathering information. It says, it says, you're absolutely right. Well, that's good.
That's what ChatGPT and Copilot always say.
But it's going to reevaluate the board carefully I don't know what it did last time, but carefully this time. And it's going to say, correct solution, rook takes c4. White plays the rook, takes c4. Sounds very powerful. So we go, rook c4. And I go, what? And I write back to it, I say, but rook c4 is not legal because that is a white piece. I didn't actually say that you have just stomped on it. It turns out it can figure that out. Here it goes. And it goes, well, what's it going to do now? It says, it's obviously very grateful to the reinforcement learning that I'm providing. I'm going to correctly analyze it. Correct mate in 2, knight to a5 check. Hold it, I thought we saw that already. And I said, this time, it reassessed it actually, just fighting here. And I went back, but it's not a check. And so it came back and it said, okay, let's carefully and accurately solve the problem this time.
Wow.
This is an awful lot of time to spend on talking about ChatGPT if there's not a really strong message about it here.
Different attempt. So it takes that rook, moves it to d3.
Plus, it's
right?
what I'm seeing is just
from the bishop on the
I see it with Copilot every day. I see every one of them are like this.
Problem.
Right? Oh, you're right. But you only need to show that like once or twice.
And is now attacked by the queen, and you're not allowed to make a move.
And I guarantee that 90% of the audience has no idea about any of this, including, by the way, me. I don't play chess.
And it goes back to the beginning and says, you're absolutely right again.
Now
we're going to do all this. No incorrect assumptions. Correct move, knight to a5 check.
It was wrong. Is what he was trying to say.
So I love the way it reasons. I wish I had played against this in many tournaments. In all seriousness, this was just a little sobering interaction. comparable to one that I have all the time as we do the work that causes us to think and design. But the problem is not that AI is bad. It's unbelievable. The problem is you have to use the right AI for the right things. So what I did is I popped that exact same position into this program called Stockfish. Stockfish is an AI, been worked on for a long time. It has its roots in architecture closer to how I got into AI. It doesn't use language models. It uses a combination of A/B searching and rules and a whole variety of different techniques. But drop the position in. That's, by the way, their logo, Stockfish. They obviously don't generate.
It took them a while to get there, though.
Something better than that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it declared that here there's a checkmate in 2. And it found the move, which is a really subtle move. Doesn't take anything, doesn't check anything, just positions the queen. Turns out black can't do anything but immediately do something that leads to mate in 1. These are really the creepiest chess puzzles that we have here. But the important thing is, it found it in under a second. And it was right the first time. And it would never do something stupid because it's the right AI for the right purpose, which is absolutely critical and candidly largely forgot by the pundits who just want to dump things in and hope that everything goes right.
This is an echo of what they said last year about appropriate tools and techniques.
The first thing I take is, as we knew, language models aren't everything. Language models great for some stuff, but for other things, you want to use other forms of AI. But second, as you think about how you want to run your business, you need a conductor. You need a way to direct the business to use the right AI or use a person or do the right things at the right time. And much as musicians work in professions from a score, you want to be able to have sheet music that describes the workflow, as it were, that the music should go through. Because if you have that, you can take advantage of all of this power, but make sure that before the audience shows up, that you're synchronized, that you've got a symphony, that it's all going to make sense.
See, but then the question
That,
becomes,
to me, is the metaphor.
I mean, what did he call the name of that? Stockfish?
Yeah.
How do you know there's a stockfish out there to do
You're going to
that?
see it's lots of AI elements.
But I guess
Where's that? How do you find it?
Trying to explain what the right places are,
No.
because I don't think it's well understood, and I think
all this stuff.
people must understand
I
it, because otherwise the
I mean,
parlor
I don't think he's wrong. I think
can be
he's right.
overwhelming.
But
So, what does
I'm
that mean?
at a loss to say, what are you going to do? Use
Well, we
Google
think
search
the
to
right
find
way to
which one of
conduct
the
your
AIs is
business,
right?
the right way to
I
design the
think-
way you want to operate.
I'm sure Pega
It's
has
the
a way of
blueprint.
doing it, but
The blueprint is a set of agents
for you.
that
Yes.
are creative, that can reason, that can challenge you.
Well, the answer
But
I
they're
think is
doing it
Pega
at
is the right
design
way.
time.
Is the
Right.
right one,
You're
right?
doing it
But
as you're
I need to
planning
understand
what your musical score should be.
how he's making
You're
that
doing it
case.
as you're planning,
I was pointing the blueprint.
not when you're
Yeah, that's
engaged
what
with
it'll
a
be.
client. And that is such an enormous distinction that is sometimes missed, because there are use cases where this doesn't matter. If you've got a knowledge worker, build an investment banking proposal who knows everything there is, they can kind of brainstorm with the AI. But if you've got somebody trying to decide if they should issue a loan to somebody, that brainstorming had better happened already to figure out what the rules and the right way to do things and the laws and the other things are. So we have a foundation for creative reasoning, for building the best possible things. And we've complemented that with the ability to pull in client documents. If you've got manuals, documents, standards from the client, just pull it into Blueprint. Pega's years and years, decades of best practices, which know a tremendous amount about workflows and the way businesses work, and actually go out to the internet and repeatedly ask the internet questions about parts of this and not believe any of it. The whole point here is for the Blueprint agents to grind together and try to come up with something better than any of the individual inputs. No, you're going to see us doing things where we consume legacy systems and replace them. We're not just doing code replacement. Some people are doing this, I'm going from COBOL to Java. Who cares? System's still going to be crap. What you really need to do is go from COBOL, Java, whatever it is, to what it should be. And that's what Blueprint does. Now, one of the things I'm super excited about, because this ties into our legacy transformation pitch that we are really launching here at PegaWorld, our new capabilities, is that we have deepened our relationships with a set of key partners, with two of our diamond partners, EY and Accenture, and a set of other really important partners, where what we have given to them is a place, a knowledge buddy, where they can put their IP into a language model setting. And if one of their staff works with one of their clients, that IP will be incorporated into what Blueprint grinds together. And it will put their best practices into the mix as well. Unique to them. No other partner, no other Pega person can see the IP that these people are putting in. And I think this represents a huge step forward in not just improving collaboration, but improving innovation in the whole way that this works. And it's really important to us.
Yeah, he mentioned, or it was mentioned, that the only thing that they can see from the Pega side of Blueprint is the email address and kind of the name of the project, I guess, and the line name of the project. That's it. No other data can be seen.
With the way you want the business to actually run. Because when it runs, you want the AI to be predictable, to be able to be reliable, so that two people whose problems are basically the same but are slightly different don't get different answers. That's how businesses get into trouble. And candidly, that's the way that people lose faith in the capability of AI. You need to be able to make it so that when you run in production, when the real bridge gets done, it's solid and reliable and not built on creativity that might suddenly appear. And to be predictable at the right time, you need to be able to have the agents orchestrated in a way where the design, as we do it, is really separate, easy to do, able to have as many workflows as you want, but you're able to reflect what you're building in terms of the articulated workflows that run your business. You're able then to have a conversational interface, which uses a language model at runtime, but only using it for conversation, only using it to translate from what the person wants to do, to find the right workflow, put the right data in the right workflow. You need to be able to then automate based on that. So you can get as much automation as possible. And then you need to be able to coach people. If a human's involved, how do I use the language model deterministically to coach the person? And then finally, you want to make sure you've got knowledge to close the loop and feed into the design, but also knowledge that might help the person do their work or help the coach, or knowledge like Socrates, which might help train you.
I was going to say that's
this concept of predictable AI, I think, is unique to Pega and is enormously important.
Is the coaching agent going to be an optimization agent as well?
Well, for me, this is a complete vindication of our center-out architecture.
Yeah,
the idea that you want to be able to have the work that your business does at the center of your business,
how it all fits together.
Now designed by Blueprint. The thought that you want your channels to be thin and light and driven by the center. So you don't have business logic and business rules in the contact center channel, the web channel, the mobile channel. The thought that customers and employees and automated agents, whether they're from Pega or from other companies, can interoperate, whether it's with traditional APIs or whether it's new standards like MCP, be able to make it so it all becomes part of an operational foundation of excellence. And then, of course, on the data side, it's absolutely critical to have encapsulation so that inside that diamond, you have coherent and consistent rules, even if the data on the outside is somewhat or very different. And that idea of the live data agent that does that mapping eliminates all of this debate about data fabrics. This idea that people are going to create data fabrics and somehow you're going to get all your data right. Look, don't get me wrong, I love it when the data's right. But waiting for the data to be right is something we've been doing for 40 years. And it's never going to be right because there's always another data source, et cetera. Our approach is to use AI to accommodate the variations of the data, but still apply them to common processes and rules. And I think architecturally, that's not just more realistic, architecturally, it's better in any sort of volatile environment. And this idea of center out is central to the concept of legacy transformation, where in this release, and you can see it, Pega can generate cloud-native databases. So if you've got a system you want to kill, and that system has some data in it, and you don't want that data in Pega, you want that data to be in a database of yours, external. We will generate the bindings and the database definition language using the AI, so that database is easily set up. This is where our partners, I think, are going to be priceless in terms of being able to help us make this all work. So it's an interesting time. And it's an interesting time for people to realize that doing this requires a bigger look than just an individual system. And what I'm pleased to announce is the concept of the agentic process fabric. How all of your engines, all of your workflows, all of the elements of your business can be pulled together to operate as a coherent whole. That you're going to be able to treat this disaggregated set of Pega systems as if they were one. You can have a conversation with an agent that can fire a workflow in one system and then stop and fire off a workflow in another. And this agentic process fabric has at its heart predictable AI, so that it's always predictable, even as it does the work across the enterprise. It's cloud native and it's center out.
Oh, Liz.
And those are the elements for businesses to get started, advance, and know there's a destination that will hold everything together. We're super excited about this. We have it on significant display in the Innovation Lab. You'll see some demonstrations of this today. And I will tell you that the changes to AI have beautifully aligned with Pega's architecture, and we've been working nonstop to use this to address the questions people have about how do we make it easier to use, faster to implement, more robust, broader. I think we've got those questions nailed. So we have a wonderful time at the other sessions, at the breakouts. Check out the Innovation Lab, and thank you, you constellation of creators, for coming. Much appreciated.
See, one thing I do really like about what I heard, aside from the fact he's good at what he does, is
Steph Lewis.
The differentiator for Pega. It's the only company I've heard talk about legacy transformation as opposed to ahead to the new world.
Good
right?
morning,
And they
everyone.
forget your legacy, move ahead.
I'm
He's saying, no, your
responsible
legacy is
for developer
important.
success
We can
and
make it
engagement.
something
As Alan
appropriate
just
to
mentioned,
contemporary
agents
need.
and AI are coming together in ways we never imagined. And you know, a key to that success is all of you, the community of developers,
Constellation, she already got it wrong.
analysts. Blueprint is changing the way we all come together
Hey,
to build
Seuss.
software.
How you doing,
We
man?
all have the opportunity to be groundbreakers. And I am so excited about this next chapter for Pega community. So please come see me in the Innovation Hub to learn more.
Groundbreakers,
Speaking of
trailblazers.
groundbreakers, I have the opportunity to introduce you to a true groundbreaker who is driving large-scale digital transformation at one of the world's largest companies. So please join me in welcoming to the stage Unilever's head of digital and technology customer operations, Francis Castro.
Thank you very much, staff. Thank you for the invitation. It's such a pleasure and honor to be here to share our story with you and with this fantastic audience. Hello, PegaWorld. I hope
Are you
you
guys seeing
enjoy the
freezing and
sessions. I hope you
choppiness, or is
find
that
a
just
lot
me?
of intriguing,
I'm seeing a little
provocative
bit.
conversations on AI in the
I'm
next
okay.
few days. Really a pleasure to be
smooth
here
for
to
me.
share
Yeah.
our story, how we
Bandwidth.
pursue the autonomous enterprise.
Yeah, I mean, I'm hardwired into
I
the
had no
interweb
idea
kind of here,
how
so
much Unilever impacts my everyday life. But before we dive in, can you share with everyone a little bit about yourself and Unilever?
For sure. Let me share a little bit about me. As maybe some of you may notice, I'm Brazilian. So let's start with that. Proudly Brazilian. Father of Bruna and Raul, married to Barbara. People that know me know that I'm a big fan of Formula One stuff. Big fan. So I woke up 5:45 yesterday just to watch the race. Big fan of Lewis Hamilton. Didn't went really well for us, for Hamilton yesterday. But okay, next time. But let's talk about
We Knicks fans
Unilever,
know what
right?
you're
Let's
talking
talk
about.
about our journey.
Lewis Hamilton's a has-been.
Unilever, we are a consumer goods company, staff. Our purpose is to brighten everyday's life for all. And when I say for all, staff, I really mean it. So, we are really proud and honored to serve 3.4 billion consumers every day. Honored to be in their houses. So,
that's a little less than half the world.
If you are washing your hands in India with Lifebuoy, or if you're cleaning your house in UK where I live, preparing for a nice dinner with some family and friends, if you are now preparing a nice sandwich, now I'm from Brazil, it's maybe 2 o'clock in Brazil right now, preparing a nice sandwich with Hellmann's mayo. Or maybe you, Steph, got a nice shower in the morning, use your Dove Dell.
This is what I mean by them serving very large companies.
4 billion consumers. And I'm pretty much sure in the audience, yes, we have audience here as well. And we operate with 190 countries with our 30 power brands. So that's in the.
They also do tons of M&A, and
3.4 billion, I think.
I bet you money they've got a half a dozen different ERPs in use at this company today.
What does that mean for customer operations?
At least.
So how do we serve those consumers, right? So we have partners, our retailers. So across the world, we serve small retailers, a small shop, the bakery that my family used to have there in Brazil, or an online retailer like Amazon, or a big retailer like Carrefour, like Walmart here, Target here in the US. Distributors that serves other small stores, they're all customers. We call them customers of Unilever. And they are almost 2.6 million across the globe. So we serve them so they can serve the consumers across the globe. That's the scale that we have.
And I think that both you and Unilever have been doing this for quite some time.
Yeah, well, I think I don't look like, maybe the audience will judge or not, but I'm doing this for 25 years in the company right now. But Unilever is more than 100 years in the market. So you see this beautiful ad for now.
So here's what it says. Unilever uses primarily SAP, but
my favorite brand.
They operate a complex IT infrastructure with over 20 ERP platforms.
100 years in the markets in 190 countries, obviously. That
apparently they unified them from 2 to 20 from 250 ERP platforms.
Oh yeah, because everybody they would buy would have an ERP, right?
And their own, apparently. And they also use Oracle Fusion Cloud Supply Chain.
And what we wanted to change, that complexity.
One of my clients was a similar boat, and a consultancy gave them a new metric, ERPs per employee.
Well, I'm very familiar with how Pega can, cut complexity. What does that specifically look like for Unilever?
I will give you an example. But before I do that, let me talk about what we want to create. We want to be the supplier #1 for our customers in every market that we serve. But let me tell you something, Steph. Wow, we are progressing. Good progress on that. In 70% of our markets, we are there in the top third group, which is really good. We are proud of that. In 6 of them, we're actually the number 1. The UK is a good example. So we are actually the number 1 for our customers, told by them, not told by Francis, right? But we want to be for all those 2.6 million, right? That's the vision, that's the strategy. But now let me give you an example on how the customer experience felt and why we need to change, why we are pursuing this change, transformation, and going to the autonomous enterprise. Steph, we are here in Vegas, but let me change a little bit the scenario, okay? I'm going to transport you, Steph, Brazil, maybe to Indonesia. Now, Steph, you are a store owner, you're a retailer owner in Indonesia, in Jakarta, okay? We just launched a new deodorant. We believe it's gonna be a success with the consumers in your neighborhood. So we engage with you and we agree to run a promotion in your store, okay, for this new product, this innovation. So you put this beautiful island of deodorant in your store and it's a massive success with your consumers, with your neighborhood. Fantastic job there. So then you come to us and look, now you need to claim your incentive because that's an agreement. You're running a promotion with us. In some cases, in some markets, that was not really a brilliant experience. Because remember, 100 years, 100 ways of doing different things, 300 systems in this space, a lot of complexity, manual work, manual approvals, legacy systems interacting with each other, which sometimes you understand may not be the best thing. So the experience was not that great. That's what we wanted to change. We need to simplify it. We need to really harmonize this and provide the best customer experience for Steph, the shop owner in Jakarta.
I do want the best experience. But what made Pega specifically the right tool for the job?
Great question. So I believe most of us here
getting him back on point.
This picture, right? The situational layer that the architecture of Pega provides to us. So what was the opportunity here? Simplification, right? Simplification, harmonization, consolidation. We wanted to get using the layer, the enterprise layer, to create a new platform, a new global process model for us. So in the specific example that I'm giving, so you're claiming a promotion, right? That's part of what we call the order to cash. So on top of that enterprise layer, the global process model, we model the order to cash process across the globe. And that allowed us, Steph, something that is very important, and I think the audience may recognize, usability. So instead of now creating new applications, every single market that we operate in can use components. And that's super important. That drives that simplification. But finally, wow, you're operating in Jakarta. You have a store there. The trade environment is different, right? From the trade environment here in Vegas, from the trade environment in Brazil, where I come from, right? That's why we needed to cater for those regional variations. If you are a big retailer like Walmart, or if you're a small retailer like Steph in Jakarta, you're gonna trade differently because you're serving maybe a different population, different consumers. It's totally different. We want to cater for that, but not to create new complexity, right? Keeping the concept of the layer cake here, keeping the concept of the global process model, but allowing those variations. That's what made Pega a great, great partner for us to simplify all of that.
I love that. That example really brings the layer cake to life, where you've got the shared recipe layer and a little bit of local flavor on top.
Yeah, I would like to think about an ice cream layer as well. It could be cake, but it could be ice cream. Fantastic layer of Magnum or Ben & Jerry ice cream on that. That made us really improve the customer experience.
So they own Ben & Jerry now?
Yeah. Yeah.
Huh,
But how does that impact your speed to market?
Okay.
I don't know. This strikes me the wrong way.
The supply and
They've got so much systems diversity, probably tons of technical debt and other stuff. It feels like you're putting Pega on top of it like a Band-Aid over a wound. When the real problem is clean up all that systems diversity.
Well, actually, according to Claude, who's where I did all that check on, or Perplexity rather, using Claude. That what I mentioned, they had 250 ERPs. They think that getting it down to 20 cleans up system diversity. And then if you keep reading, you see that it is nowhere near cleaned up. There's so many hundreds of other systems inside the company.
For any retailer, no matter.
I guess I'm not sure what they're talking about from a digital transformation perspective, right? Because if you talk about ServiceNow, bills, pitches, keep those systems that you have, and we'll layer ServiceNow on top so that you don't have to go through the pain and cost of eliminating those legacy systems. And I'm not sure whether which side of that argument Pega is on.
No, Pega is actually, judging from what Alan was talking to, and the embargo is over, I think so. Anyway, but I'm not going to go into detail because it will show it. But that's actually their big differentiator, is taking legacy systems and bringing them into the contemporary universe. But I don't know that this is telling me that at all. I still have no idea what's happening in Jakarta here, right? I just know that somehow it's different there.
You run the promotion.
Well, it's not clear to me either. Kind of like in terms of they're not really being really clear about
which makes you
which customers we're serving and which we're not. Because you talked about Walmart and then another kind of brand name in Jakarta, but actually I know that they're using another vendor for another kind of like to reach the multitude of micro retailers to do almost exactly the same thing.
I think the difficulty with this particular example is you have this, and it goes to everybody's point. You have this gigantic company that serves just under half the world in one capacity or another, with massive amounts of systems, trying to explain how operationally they've cleaned up so that that one shop owner in Jakarta can be served, but they're not making think big, start small. It's basically we are big and we haven't really figured out how to do small. That's all that I can't grasp how this I mean, I grasp it from the little bits of data they just showed, reduction in time, I guess, and things like that, but I can't grasp how this is helping anybody from the standpoint of their the customer or seller experience in Jakarta, which is, I thought, the original point.
But you don't have the capacity to execute that, right?
Other than that, it's just, to Brian's point, basically it's a layer on top of a lot of other layers. And maybe there's some benefit to that, but it doesn't solve their problem. And it doesn't, I don't think he's, I don't know, I'm just not getting this as a clear-cut answer.
I'm really proud of the
If you go back to the overtures right at the very beginning of the keynotes, where the introductory sort of like voiceover, they talked about driving better outcomes. The thing I think that I'm missing is, like, to your point, Paul, is like what sort of delta in outcomes are we going to achieve here, even if we take this approach?
Partners that enable
exactly
technology.
They're not answering.
So we could reach all those markets that were in scope. Partners like Aretians, like Deloitte, like Capgemini, like Genpact, so they're really cognizant. They helped us to land these on the ground. And finally, the 4th point is about the
he seems like a lovely guy, but I don't.
I told you, 25 years in the company, driving technology. Sometimes we get
my yardstick for the word transformation is like what happens when say a butterfly pupa goes through the chrysalis and everything else, then emerges as a completely different animal with, and when they're talking about legacy transformation or other kinds of transformation, even around business models, they haven't proved to me that we're making more than just incremental improvements here. You know, I'm looking for something that's so radically different. And that's one of the challenges with agentic AI is unless the change was already predefined into an AI tool, the AI tool is not going to come up with it on its own. It's not, it's going to be derivative, not transformational. I'm still waiting for the transformation piece.
Yeah, I mean,
I think all of us
I
here.
what I think we're going to see when Kareem gets up there is something that is what makes Blueprint specifically a very important product and a differentiable product, and gives Pega a true differentiator. But to your point, so I'm happy when I see the idea of don't lose your legacy, basically make it contemporary and make it workable and make it that without, you know, destroying and massive cost and so on and so forth. That said, those things to me aren't to your point, transformation to me, like you, is radical. It is radical when I hear the word. That's why I always hated digital transformation. Right, we're at the finish line for digital transformation, and we aren't even at the starting line, right? And I always found that phrase ridiculous because 99% of the companies that claimed that was doing it were basically just improving something at best, and that's fine. Don't get me wrong, improvement's good, but just
digitizing an existing process.
Exactly, and then again. Fine, nothing wrong with that. Just stop making claims that you can't sustain. In this case, I'm honestly, it's just too complicated the way he's describing the whole thing, and it's just too much, and it's not proving what I originally thought was proving it, because he's the one who brought it up. You know, regional differences, shop owner in Jakarta. I don't want to harp on it, but that's his point. Supposedly, layer 3 there, right? That's his point. Although I did like the ice cream. I was getting really hungry for ice cream when I saw that.
You want to talk to the customer. That's what you want to do, right? You want to understand what they need. You want to talk to the business, to our category, say, well, what's the next innovation in Hellmann's? What's the next innovation in Dove, in Magnum? So you can serve better the customer. That's what you want to do, and that's what I think AI will unleash that capacity for our talents. And finally, we are proud to be in the houses of 3.4 billion every single day. How can we connect better with them, more personally? How can we create more impact for their lives, right? A positive impact. I do believe that AI will help us to really establish those much more meaningful connections with 3.4, with 3.5.
I've just been reviewing the title of this segment, and it says "Transforming Tomorrow Today: Unilever's Path to the Autonomous Enterprise."
I have heard nothing about the autonomous enterprise at all. What you do, and literally nothing.
This has been a blast to work on this with you, and thank you and Unilever for your continued partnership. And we look forward
not good. I'm sure I use lots of Unilever products without thinking about it. Although, if they have all the, you know, the what do you call it? The bad chemicals and horrible processes, I'm going to be getting rid of them. But okay, this one is where they establish, I hope, where they establish what makes Pega Pega.
I think Paul, you're absolutely right, because we've got a preview of some of the stuff that they've been talking about, and the legacy transformation thing.
My name is Kieran.
Should be the thing.
And I am responsible for products here at Pegasystems. And it is great to be back in Las Vegas for PegaWorld. Actually, it was just about a year ago today that we launched Pega Blueprint right here on the stage to revolutionize how organizations deliver workflow applications. And as soon as we released Blueprint, it just took off like nothing else we've ever released into the market before. Every day, we see hundreds of organizations, thousands of users leveraging Blueprint to push the boundaries of how AI and workflows can come together. And since you all know, during this last 12 months, the world of technology has been really quiet. It's been really relaxed.
Yeah.
Not a lot going on. Technology seems
That picture looked like a Corona ad.
the world order unchanged.
Clink. We'll clink bottles.
News organizations can't find anything to write about.
There it
So
is.
quiet. Who are we kidding? It's been complete chaos out there.
Wow, that was like an evil laugh.
Every day, everywhere, everything is
Holy
changing
cow, I just got
all
scared.
the time. There's so much fear and excitement. There's so much uncertainty and opportunity everywhere we look. So we decided to cut through all this chaos. We're going to focus on making Blueprint even more powerful than ever before, while maintaining is really easy to use experience. Now, for those of you who don't know, Blueprint is a SaaS solution available on Pega.com that uses AI agents to drive transformation. You all know the solutions like ChatGPT and Copilot are generic large language models. Blueprint is a fit-for-purpose solution to be able to drive new application design and development and push digital transformation. And since we released it, we had an incredible opportunity to engage with so many incredible organizations across the globe. And I'm really excited to have one of those organizations with us here today. So please help me welcome Ben Cuthbert from Vodafone on stage. Well, Ben, welcome to Las Vegas.
Thanks, Karim. It's great to be here. And hi, everyone.
So, Ben, can you start with telling us a little bit about Vodafone and as well as what you do there?
Sure. So Vodafone's a global telecommunications leader in Europe and Africa. We provide fixed and mobile services to over 340 million customers and across 15 countries.
So 340 million customers using your services every day. I'm guessing you guys are working on some new exciting capabilities all the time.
That's right, Karim. Never a dull moment of Vodafone. We're pioneering satellite-enabled connectivity with our partner AST Space Mobile, looking to take coverage further than ever before. We recently did the world's first video call using just a standard mobile phone and a commercial satellite.
So that's pretty cool. That means more people around the globe can actually connect with each other.
That's right, it will. And that's our purpose, to connect everyone. We aim to build an inclusive, sustainable, and trusted digital society where individuals and businesses can thrive. As for me, I help empower our people and provide a center of excellence, which is delivering global solutions, supercharging our processes, leveraging Pega Platform.
And Ben, we are very, very happy to be a part of that journey and part of those initiatives that you're driving. So I was hoping that you could share with us, how does Blueprint come into the picture in that story?
Sure. Well, Blueprint's been a game changer for us. The fact that anyone can use it anywhere and in real time, but as with any great idea, executive buy-in is critical for success. And at Vodafone, not only are our executives bought in, we have one of their commitments on video. Let's check it out.
Let's check it out.
How are businesses transforming in the AI era? I recently met with Simon Norton, head of the European division of digital networks.
There she is.
Joe,
the star. Star of stage and screen.
I
Joe
recognize those
Richardson.
dulcet tones.
Revolution in the AI space is that we're going to need to pivot very, very rapidly to a new way of thinking.
Graham
We need to be
Norton.
smarter and more creative around how we approach our processes, how we approach all of those key aspects across our network lifecycle. That obviously comes with its complexity. We have to overcome the legacy challenge it's not possible to automate everything within our network today. And so we need to make sure that we're evolving, that we're simplifying, and we're making the right investments to do this.
What about market drivers?
For me, autonomous networks is all about really linking that principle of, hyperscaling the use of AI automation technologies to be able to deliver strategic goals for the business, but also deliver the best customer experience. Blueprint was not something that was on my radar. It's something that Ben and the team brought towards us and said, look, we're going to start experimenting with this, which is great. We want that kind of organic innovation happening across the organization. The main goal of this solution is to take all of that goodness from the data and insights and the AI, which is telling us where we need to focus, and then is helping to hone that by building the work stack, prioritizing for our optimizers where they need to go and make interventions on our network. Blueprint has really, really helped us completely reimagine the way that not only do we look at requirements analysis, but the way that we engage the customer throughout that process. Instead of now taking 2 to 3 months, they can map existing processes, generate the 2B, come up with a backlog of requirements, and crucially, get working product into the hands of the users within that 48-hour period. So for us, certainly,
this is very straightforward and easy to understand too.
It's nothing short of revolutionary.
Since you've been working with Blueprint on one of your major projects, has been 30% less rework and 10% efficiency gains.
Those stats are real, they're validated, they've been presented widely across the business. And I actually think we can go further. By bringing forward working software, users getting their hands on it, we're able to build a better minimum viable product from the get-go, therefore minimizing change requests to be able to do the basic function it was designed for, and instead using that time and effort to add features and innovate. That's what I really like. We're very, very keen to build once and deploy to many across our markets, because it enables us to be more standardized, more consistent. Everything that our joint Pega team and the partners that work alongside us have touched in the last 3 years has literally turned to gold. It's generating huge return on investment for every single application or workflow that we build on top of the solutions. And we're very thankful for Pega for helping us with that journey.
Yeah, and it sounds like you definitely have executive buy-in where he's talking about everything you're doing, your team's doing, Blueprint turns to gold. That's great. And it seems like in your world, Ben, Simon says, build an app.
And I say, yes.
And Simon says, Ben, you need to drive legacy transformation.
And I say, we can do that with Blueprint.
And touch your shoulder. Almost got you. All right, so let's dig into a little bit more.
That's literally 90% of the audience has no idea what Simon says is.
Sure. Well, first of all, we got hands-on in a Catalyst session, allowed our customers to get hands-on, and we understood the limitations of the product. Then we set about transforming the way we do ideation. We created Rudy events, which is for rapid understanding, design, and innovation. This cuts out months of requirements time.
I thought that said no sprint without a pint when I first read it.
It allows individuals to create something tangible before they've even had to create a rule. And also, for our large...
That's how we go from replatforming to transformation.
This allows our customers to get advanced previews on what they may receive, but also allows us to clarify understanding with our delivery teams, removing some of the iterations and cycles and shortening the whole process.
And I just want to clarify, when you say no sprint without a print, you're talking about without a blueprint.
You got it, Chris.
That's fantastic. So it sounds like you guys sat back and thought through how you go about ideating and setting out your vision, what your methodology is to build new applications, new solutions, driving the transformation. Did you get a chance to actually put these new methodologies to work in real life use cases?
Yeah, absolutely, we did. We recently radically improved our radio optimization process. We did one Rudy event, 2 iteration meetings, and managed to do delivery within 7 weeks of effort.
7 weeks of effort. Well, congrats, that's pretty good.
But that wasn't going far enough, Karim. So we had to look at our budget movement process. We went from ideation to delivered in less than 40 hours worth of effort.
Sorry.
Oh, that's what the gag was with the coffee cup.
Yeah.
I was waiting for that.
Blueprint helped.
He stole that from me.
It allows people to
He did at the end of.
familiarize
If
with
you look at my
the
intro, at the end of EWPK, I do literally
Well,
that.
we like that.
I
We like
spit
that
up
for the
coffee from a
story,
cup.
being able to go from that blueprint.
So far, they're stealing
directly live.
Constellation
So,
from
when we heard
Ray and
Simon
Liz,
talk
and they're
about
stealing
less free
my
work
coffee cup
and
thing.
driving efficiency,
There are a lot of
it's
lawsuits coming their way.
It's clearly, you've been driving that doubling productivity initiative, and you've been successful with those outcomes.
Yeah, absolutely. Blueprint helps us save time
Yeah,
and
he's
drive
totally reading.
efficiency.
Well, if Dr. Pepper figures into this, we got a real class action thing coming.
And these
Well,
aren't
just
just
enough to do class
slides we're creating. We can get an app up and running immediately. Blueprints truly helping with our legacy transformation.
I wish you'd say more about the legacy transformation bit, like kind of get into the nuts and bolts about what was where you were and what did you use a blueprint to transform.
Well, interestingly enough, if we take Alan and then we add in what we saw yesterday,
We're really excited to ingest this.
this would that could be a good keynote.
And get a completely
Relatively, I mean, there would have to be some changes, but you get the point.
drive up our levels of autonomous processing. Getting Blueprint to help us identify how we can apply the automation and intelligence to our existing business processes. And we're going to dive deeper into this in our breakout later, so it'd be great to see people there.
And you have a great breakout coming. Look, Ben, we've been really, really thankful for your teams and your partnership with.
He is so lovable, though, Kareem, I have to say.
We love
Lovable
this
man.
story out of autonomous operations, and thank you so much for coming.
Between
here to share
Don
your
and
story
him.
with our audience today.
Thanks, Kareem. It's great to be here.
Alan,
Watch out.
watch your step.
Thanks, bud. All right, so I love that story for Ben, that they went from a blueprint to a finished app live in under 40 hours. And for those of you who are interested, no sprint without a blueprint would be a great tattoo if you want to get here in Vegas. Just an idea, especially for my team over there. But I realize that we're not all out there just building brand new applications all the time. So many of you are out there executing on some very ambitious legacy transformation initiatives. So we set out to make that legacy transformation journey as easy as A, B, C. As simple as 1, 2, 3.
Wow.
As easy as do, re, mi.
Oh dear.
There'll be no more singing. Maybe a little bit. But I do.
Did we just switch to America's Got Talent?
The specifics of
definitely not.
Where's the big red button?
Rhetorical question.
A talks about your application assets. You all have hundreds, if not thousands, of old legacy applications throughout your organization.
I sense some other copyright infringement coming on.
You have user manuals, you have training manuals, you have system requirements, you have.
So what happens if a customer of theirs uses this software to take an old licensed product from a third party and recreates it using their tools?
Are just gonna.
Do they violate the intellectual property rights of the original software creator?
And give you a recommendation.
That's a really good question.
That's a great question.
It allows you to capture all the functionality and the logic in those applications from those assets, and give you opportunity to actually design the future state of those solutions. Once you spend some real time on Blueprint, getting agreement on this is what you want to build, then you move to step C, you push it through a cloud deployment. You now have in Pega Infinity the outline of your application, the foundation layers of your design actually constructed using the best practices. You can start using it, you can start running it, and you can start putting your differentiator.
Brent, I'll give you $100 if you show up at the next conference wearing an outfit like the character on the slide.
Seeing this live would be a much easier way to understand what the capabilities are. So if you don't mind, I'm going to give
Come on, Brian, you have those pants.
But we need a very critical piece of equipment to do that. Ah, here it is. I found it. All right. My laptop is on there. Let's check it out. So here we're in the Blueprint dashboard. And what I'm going to do, a lot of you are familiar with this, I'm going to start a new blueprint. But I'm going to use a new capability to upload supporting assets. And what you'll see in this new screen is a set of new capabilities that are coming with Blueprint to be able to make that legacy transformation journey easier. Here you can now upload requirements documents. If you have legacy application media, and this is screenshots or a video of somebody using their older application, you can take schemas and integration declarations. You can take your process diagrams. You can take your logs or user manuals. You can even take the output of system analysis tools to code analysis tools. And you see this from some amazing organizations. And we've been partnering with lots of technology organizations to be able to insert all of these analysis outputs into Blueprint to be able to design. And I have two of these things. So I have a legacy application. It's a COBOL application. And I'm going to actually show you a quick video, very short, of somebody walking through this application. Some of you might remember these types of solutions. And let's see this narration.
I can enter the account number for the account I want to update.
This has got to send chills down Paul's spine remembering this stuff.
I wasn't in tech when this started.
I saw this in a briefing and I did some research, and as of a couple of years ago, apparently there's still 800 billion lines of COBOL code still in use today across the enterprise sector.
That's a new market segment for Pega.
Good news is
that's there's a legacy transformation. If you can take
just
from
give
that
us $1 a line, $1 a line of code that we can transform.
3270 COBOL application, and going through the motions, going through the actions of taking basically all the operations of the application in place and narrating it, explaining what they're doing. So this is
clearly the sex, drugs, and rock and roll part of the keynote today.
Yep.
And the second one is
to their credit, as we know,
one of our partnerships
this
with
is
Amazon,
what distinguishes
which
them
is the
right
output of the AWS Transform solution that looks at the thousands of lines of code of the COBOL application that we just reviewed and gives us an analysis of what's in there. It just knows and gives us a full view of all the logic, all the processing, all the data structures, all the integration points, everything in there. And we're not going to read all of this either. But what we're going to do is we're going to pop in here, and I'm going to take that video, and I'm going to pop in here. I'm going to take that AWS Transform, and I am going to click on this button, and I'm going to let Blueprint start doing the analysis of all of that content. And the agents are going to ask a series of specific questions to those assets to understand what's in there, to basically get to a summary of a summary, and then overall give us a recommendation for a layout of a blueprint. So now our agents basically realize that this is a banking application in retail banking operations. They figured out that this was a credit card management. I think, I don't know, some of you used COBOL applications before. What was happening on those screens where somebody was updating account-specific profile definitions and making changes to the system. And what Blueprint will do is, as part of its analysis, it will figure out all the elements that are going to be central to this next modernized version of this application. So it comes back and it says, we have 4 workflows around credit limit adjustment, around profile maintenance, some transaction updates, and billing updates. And as you all very well know, it's going to give us an end-to-end process recommendation of how that can be modernized in Pega. So this is the moment we sit down and review what Blueprint has recommended to us and make sure that it's right, not because of the way it used to be, but because we want to define what we want it to be in the future. We want to be able to use business rules. We want to be able to use integration. We want to be able to use automation. We want to be able to use statistical AI calls. We want to be able to do AI agents. We want to be able to do robotic processing. We want to do everything we can to drive an autonomous operation directly into this workflow. And this is where we start that journey. Another thing that it does is, of course, it pulls out the case data model. All those pretty colored fields that we saw in the 3270 application, it read through all those fields and pulled those definitions directly into the blueprint. And it also realized what are some data elements that this process needs from different system of records. So whether those are data objects where Pega is the system of record, or whether they are data objects where a third-party system of record, it will figure it out. And it will also give you an ERD diagram to explain to you how this process is going to work across all those data sources. Now let's keep going. As I mentioned before, it's going to suggest all the integration points of this, and it's going to recommend to you who are the personas that are going to participate in this application. Who's going to use it? It suggests, of course, there's going to be a customer that wants to make some changes to their account. There's going to be a virtual agent that's going to help with those updates. There might be an administrator. There might be a contact center agent. There might be an account manager. And Blueprint gives us the recommendations. And of course, we can make the necessary changes in here. Now, one of the most powerful capabilities of Blueprint, when you do all of this analysis, and you're talking about moving forward, and you want to make sure you have buy-in for different sponsors, supporters of this organization, you can actually preview what this application is going to look like, how it's going to work, before you do any development. And there's this button right here. I click on it, and it says Preview My App. And on the left side, you see all the different channels that are critical to that center-out vision that Alan shared with us earlier on. And this gives us an opportunity to look through this experience and understand if this is going to be the right way to drive this process. I can actually run a simulation of this process directly in place. I can look at various different case types across all my workflows. I can look at a simulated list of all the data across all the different connectivity points that we saw earlier on. I can look at a variety of reports that might be significant for this application. I can have a full-on dashboard that gives me visibility about how the work is getting processed. And I haven't really done anything yet, right? I haven't really done any development. And of course, super cool to be able to see what this will look like on a mobile experience. Or if you have a collection of Salesforce users that need to be able to interact with these processes, Pega and Blueprint will show that to you, can actually embed these processes using Lightning native front end for those users and directly plug that in. You can plug this into the contact center agent's experience so that if the customer calls in and say, hey, what's my credit line? It says 20,000, whatever. You get that experience directly in there. You can expose this directly to the customers as a self-service form. But in this age, that's not what you're going to do. You're going to move to a conversational agent, and you're going to actually provide a conversational experience using those AI agents for Pega. So here we are on the right side of the screen, a conversational agent running in the background, analyzing our workflows, and starting a conversation. It says, how can I help you? And my team has been working a lot on these capabilities lately, so I'm going to take them out for a big dinner tomorrow night. It's going to cost a lot of money. So I want to make sure I have enough credit.
I'd venture to guess around 7K.
My credit.
I know his team. I know how to eat.
Here we go. I'll ask Mr. Blueprint. Oh, my credit limit is $20,000. Even in Vegas, that's plenty enough.
Well, that's a downgrade on the briefing. So he's been up to some trouble.
I'm not here. What is my account balance? Let's see. That's going to be a factor as well. Maybe take out. Look, I know what I think at this point, this is the moment that the customer says, you know what, I want to talk to someone. I'm going to make a phone call. So we're actually going to call into this. And one thing I want to show you before I do this, I'm going to click on this button where it says peek behind this interaction. And this is going to show us how the AI agents in the background are working and operating for us. So I'm going to click on this button. I'm going to find my phone. There it is. All right. And if this comes back, all right, I'm going to make a phone call into this number, and we'll all get to hear it together.
Please enter your 6-digit Blueprint voice preview code. One moment while we connect you to your Blueprint voice preview.
Welcome to U Plus Bank Blueprint. How can I help you?
Hey, yeah, I was planning to take my team out for a big dinner tomorrow night here in Vegas, and I think it's going to cost something like $7,000.
Whoops.
Is there going to be a problem?
There you go, Paul.
For my credit card?
Yeah, I cheated.
Let me check the available credit on your card to ensure
I
there
cheated.
won't be any issues with a $7,000 charge. May I have your credit card number, please?
Yeah, it's 3456.
Just to follow up on your question about charging $7,000 for a dinner in Vegas, your current available credit is $2,000. This means you might face an issue with a $7,000 charge. Would you like me to help you with a credit limit increase? Or is there anything else I can assist you with?
Yeah, why don't we go ahead with a credit line increase?
Sure, I can help with that. How much would you like to increase your credit line by? And when would you like the new limit to take effect?
Let's take the credit limit all the way up to $30,000.
We'll proceed with increasing your credit limit to $30,000. Would you like this new limit to take effect immediately? Or do you have a specific date in mind?
Today, please.
It would be funny if it denied his request.
The credit
Live on
limit for your
stage.
card has
That's
been
right.
successfully increased to $30,000.
Sorry, and please shred your
Enjoy
card.
dinner in Vegas. And if you need any further assistance, feel free to
Well, given the probabilistic nature of things, it is possible it can get denied.
You know what, Alan? I was thinking the exact same thing. These demos all start to look the same, you know?
Yeah, but don't forget what he's doing. The thing to me that made this important was taking COBOL and making it into something that looks like this. The demo is the demo, but I'm just talking about the concept. And I don't know any other product that does that.
con effetto immediato. Così puoi coprire comodamente la spesa prevista.
I've actually seen a couple.
Like what?
Benim için yaptıklarının
Long time ago, I saw Eris do this, AERIS, and they were able to do this 3 years ago.
I cut her off. Sorry about that.
Are they still around? I never heard of them.
Here, in this last couple of seconds, if I may just go back to my slides real quick. So
what's different is to ingest everything and create the apps and all the logic to go with it, workflows, and it's stringing it all together.
Right. It fascinates me that it's doable. And again, I think actually, honestly, picking COBOL as the example to use was smart, given how ancient that is.
In real time. We literally just went from COBOL to a conversational agent in no time. And this was no lift and shift process.
I want them to go from key
Our AI
cards.
agents actually helped reimagine the process to define what they should look like in an autonomous world, making operations much
Yeah, I
more
want to see
efficient.
their AI tool read an 80-column punch card and figure out what the underlying code is.
Yeah,
Their customers.
That's what I literally, that's the computer I learned in 1968.
We have a blueprint for that one as
Punch
well.
cards.
And to showcase that blueprint, I invited my friend Nicola all the way from Melbourne, Australia, to show us the solution. So please help me welcome Nicola Pittman on stage.
Yeah.
Nick needs to be good because I'm running out of Dr. Pepper.
Hi, Nicola.
Hey, Karim. It is a pleasure to be here.
and I'm really excited to tell you all about our customer engagement blueprint and how we're using statistical and generative AI to make it so easy for marketers to create these one-to-one experiences.
And Nicola, this crowd loves seeing real live demos.
Yeah.
So we can skip all the slides and go straight to the live demo.
Alrighty, let's crack on.
Let's crack on.
Yeah, I don't think it's quite as lost as you do, Alan, but it could have been done better. Yeah, lost now.
So here, Karim, we have our customer engagement blueprint dashboard. And for those of you that have used the workflow blueprint, it is the same seamless experience. So when we go to create our blueprint, we need to provide a little bit of information. We need to provide that organization that we're making the blueprint for, but also the intent that we have from the blueprint. Where our engagement blueprint is a little bit different, however, is that we're actually going to give that company's website, and we're going to put our blueprint agents to work to help us build out our engagement strategy.
And since we are here at the MGM resorts and enjoying all these facilities, we decided that it would be best to point the customer engagement blueprint to the MGM resorts website.
How about updating the hotel?
Before we do that, though, let's take a quick look.
How about
So I know
improving
all
the
of us
check-in
have walked through the
process?
corridors,
That
seen
especially.
Chick-fil-A, we've
Oh
been in
my
the fast
God,
food
what is a
restaurants.
disaster.
What we're really seeing on the website here is
I
that
finally
they
got a
have
digital
lot
key and then it didn't work, so I had to literally go back down and print
going on.
keys.
But if we just jump back into the blueprint itself, let's start to build that out. So we'll pick up MGM here. We can see the website. And we're going to select here, Enhance Guest Experience and Satisfaction.
Ooh.
So as we kick off the blueprint, like I said, we're putting our agents to work. So right now with that website, they're out there interrogating the content of the website and helping us really define the boundaries of the engagement.
Pulling out
with the
fingernails of the
objectives that
content.
we just set. So what we'll see in just a moment is exactly that. There we go.
I got to believe somewhere on a website is a copyright symbol.
We then move into
This
those
is a little
outcomes that we
unusual.
typically have in any type of campaign, and also the channels that we'd recommend communicating on.
And this is super cool. You know what? That whole interrogation of the website to understand the marketing approach of the organization and many other aspects we'll see. But just like the workflow blueprint, the customer engagement blueprint just makes suggestions and allows the marketer to make the decision on which products that they're going to focus on, which channels that they're going to engage, what are some of the strategies to be able to capture their vision in the session here.
Yeah, that's it. And all of it's served up, so I have the ability to go in and edit and make any changes that I would like to. As we move forward with our blueprint, however, we get into the particular personas that we have. So these personas, these are the different characteristics of individuals that we want to be marketing to. So when we think about MGM, it's fair to say that we would have somebody like our culinary adventurer, Alex, or our entertainment enthusiast, Jess, as a persona for us to reach out to.
And this is very similar to the concepts in the workflow, but this is basically trying to figure out what are the personas that we reach out to, that MGM will speak to and basically package and offer different products and services. Again, marketer can make any decisions they want and alter it, but this gets them, 85, 90% there immediately.
Yeah, that's it. And this next screen of Blueprint is my absolute favorite. So as I said, we've really put our agents to work, getting all of the information about the brand itself. What you're seeing on screen here, on the left-hand side, is the unique characteristics of the brand voice that we've been able to pick up from the way in which they present themselves online.
And it's super cool. It just read all the pages across the website, and it basically now tells us, how do they talk to their customers? How do they sound? And you look at these attributes, they make it sound exciting. And we can clearly see it, and the agents figured it out. And
what if it's problematic?
I think it's
meaning there's an actual problem with the way they're doing this, not just converting it to something that assumes it's right. How's Blueprint work there? It's not making suggestions for change. It sounds like it's taking what's there and
so we have our culinary
improving
adventurer,
it.
Alex, and the persuasion principle.
I'm just
around
unclear
authority.
on
But if I
what
were
if
to change that
what if
to
it's really not
family
personalized. It's just
secret
they say it
experience,
is.
Mark, and scarcity. We can see here in real time how that experience changes. So the imagery here, Mark can really see himself.
They must have
on
had
that
permission
table.
to
And this has moved from
demo
a
this on MGM's
dining experience to an exclusive
site.
offer that Mark can engage with.
I mean,
And
it's
the marketer
interesting, but
on
I'm
this
just
page
really curious.
Confirms the brand voice attributes, confirms the personas, defines how we will reach out to those personas with various different actions across all different persuasion principles, and validates the approach. And then we'll move next.
Yeah, so next up, we then get to experience that single interaction across the multiple channels. So we would have seen when we specified the boundaries of the blueprint, we had call, we had chat, we also had some website imagery on there too. So again, the marketers, they have the ability to see all of this before ever bringing it into your CDH implementation.
Right, so this strategy that the marketer is putting together is going to apply whether it's on the inbound channels or on the outbound campaign channels. It's going to apply across the board and let you leverage the capabilities of our products based on the specifications that are captured here.
That's it. And as we move from looking at that single experience across the channels, we now move into the complete comprehensive library of experiences. So we are talking about hundreds of offers and images across every single one of those channels, ready again for that marketer to interact with, and be able to pull into their CDH implementation.
I wonder if we're going to talk about the image use and how that's
we interrogated the website.
Protected.
We looked at everything that they have on the website. We understood the brand voice. We understood the products. We understood the actions and the offers. We understood the personas. We understood the channels, the persuasion principles, and they created a library.
I guess it still calls for a human consultant to come in and say, well, yeah, that may be what you have, maybe the way AI defines this, but that isn't right. You're missing something, or you shouldn't be doing that, or this is not the way it actually is, or whatever.
Easy.
So what would it take to actually create this entire library for a marketing strategy?
To get to this point, realistically, we're speaking about months and months and months of meetings, pulling people together, engaging with external agencies, really trying to corral everyone. But with our customer engagement blueprint, we start with something on paper that we can give that 10% to make it perfect.
And I'm assuming all those marketing agency interactions are quite costly as well.
Cheap.
Cheap.
I guess the difference between the blueprint is you can benchmark it against industry best practice versus reprocessing stuff, where this, I guess you'd have to kind of build up that database that you can benchmark against and to figure out improvements going forward.
Whole library down to the
So
next
there would be
so when we first start off,
a significant amount of potentially significant amount of preliminary work to set it up.
There'd be a lot of test and learn sort of stuff to get it up and going, and then because you couldn't do this at scale just straight off the back, or you wouldn't do it at scale just straight off the back.
To get to those remaining offers, where we enable the statistical AI to be able to determine the propensity or that likelihood of somebody clicking in and engaging with an offer.
Right. So the way I understand it is, with the use of blueprints, the marketer creates all of these different actions, all of these different treatments, all of these different offers, and before the engine will actually send out an action or an offer to an end customer, you will have to go through executing all sorts of business rules to identify the collection of actions that are suitable to be able to send to that customer. And here is where some of the magic of our product comes in, which does the arbitration to execute that formula that you see on the right top to determine that next best action for this customer at this moment in time in the channel that they're engaged in, and be able to deliver that message with the highest likelihood that they would actually take the offer.
That's it. So if we take a look at our culinary adventurer, Alex, we can see here, again, quite adventurous.
What is that?
I'm pretty sure that's a lotus flower. Lotus crisp?
Alex and I do not share the same diet.
Let's go with someone I resonate with a bit more. Let's take a look at entertainment enthusiast Jess. Awesome. A nice concert here for her.
That sounds a little bit more fun. So, Nicola, on the right top here, I see a purple button. What does that do?
That's our Let's Send messages. So what we have the ability to do at the end of any of our engagement blueprints is to allow people to interact with that just after.
Right. So you can actually click on that button and actually, enter, one or multiple email addresses and actually experience what the message is going to look like when it's delivered to the customers directly from Blueprint in here. And well, since we're all at MGM and we have all these great offers, why don't we, and we have everybody's email addresses, why don't we send all these like room upgrades and dining experience to the whole audience here? Just click the button.
Look, I'm not sure that MGM would be too happy about that, but I was able to create a blueprint and actually point that at PegaWorld. So how about we take a quick look at that one and we'll see if we can get out some offers to our attendees just afterwards. So again, pointed this at PegaWorld.com. We're able to go in there and see everything that's going on in the Innovation Hub, all of the breakouts, and build out some amazing experiences, our personas here.
So basically, same idea. Point to PegaWorld.com, figures out all the offerings, in this case, lots of sessions and demos and technical talks, figures out the personas, figures out what's the right offer, and if you click on that button.
Yep, you ready?
Before we send out the offers, let me just do a quick recap. If we can just put the slides up for 1 second. So, in this last 30 minutes, what did we actually see? We heard directly from Ben around driving faster time to market using Blueprint. We understood what it means to basically say, no sprint without a blueprint. Going to a real application in under 40 hours. And those are some real outcomes. We all learned that the legacy transformation journey can be as easy as, I can hear you. This can be as easy as
1, 2, 3, or ABC.
Well, excellent, great.
What's 3, 4, 5, 6?
And we also saw
I
that
wrote his credit card number down.
workflow you build in the Pega platform is now agentic, giving us tremendous opportunities for automation and autonomous operations. And in the last couple of minutes, we just saw with Nicola that Gen AI and statistical AI coming together that can deliver some incredible customer engagement strategies with this latest blueprint. So when people are out there running around and talking about how agents are driving a tech revolution, well, this is what they're talking about. And what we're hoping is we want all of you to actually join us as we cut through all of that chaos out there so that we can make your job a little bit more relaxing, just like a day at the beach. So with that, Nicola, are you ready to hit the button?
I'm ready.
Click it. Check your emails. In the next couple of minutes, you'll get a quick offer from the Customer Engagement Blueprint. Thank you so much for your time, and have a great PegaWorld.
I thought he was going to dance with her. So that's it.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay. Wow, they ended early.
I think they skipped through the Vodafone kind of one, even though the video interview was quite long. I think they skipped through the Vodafone case study kind of quite quickly.
Yeah. All right. So, Brent, you want to take it away?
That was so weird an ending.
What?
That was such an anticlimactic close.
Ending. I know, it was very strange.
It was over. I told him we get rid of it. And I have no idea how I'm sounding, so I'm not going to say a lot.
You're okay.
Final thoughts. That was such an I can't get over that. Rebecca, what do you think?
I thought the strongest part was the COBOL, definitely.
Yeah.
I think Unilever could have been used a lot more effectively than it was. To your point, Adrian, about Vodafone, yeah, it was quite short, but I would have loved to see with both of the customers more of an embodiment of how they're using Blueprint like one more level, not just saying that they were using Blueprint.
Adrian.
Yeah, I think so I think when you've got titles that say they're kind of like that talks about path to the autonomous enterprise, and then you don't quite see a path or a vision being told or articulated, I'm left a little bit wanting. I think, but overall, I think the again the line from the legacy transformation around how you can take that COBOL application and you can create video and with a bit of narration, and then you can ingest it and then try and create something on a modern kind of platform that you can spin up. That I think is really powerful, but then you can do it end to end. It's not like a discrete system that's doing this, but it's like, oh, you can do this and then this and then this and then this and this, and you're thinking, okay, now I can see there's a big key to kind of legacy transformation. But unfortunately, I didn't feel like that story came out.
Yeah, Rebecca agrees with you. I think I saw Patrick shaking his head back there too. So, all right, Mr. Summer.
Couple things. This was a tech show and a tech presentation first and foremost. I don't think it really got, even though there were a couple of customers on there, let's really pull back and look at things from the customer side of the house. When I run into clients, usually they're somewhere in a journey, and they're they're in a dysfunctional state and they just want to get functional, or they're functioning, although not pretty, and they want to become process excellent, or they're process excellent and kicking butt, and now they want to actually go out there and transform the world. Okay, so we've got, when people start using this transformation stuff, and then all they're really talking about is, I want to clean up some old COBOL code and get it and understand what's in it so I can maybe write a new application that does a better job of what the old one did. I think that's a real misuse of the transformation term. That's a replatforming is what that really is. And so when I think about the transformation, I'm looking for, where are the big, blue sky ideas? Where's the radical rethinking? And I guess I would say I was left wanting on that point. And I don't know where that fits in, because these tools are going to, the one we saw, it interrogated probably a 50-year-old COBOL app and basically gave you a mobile version of a 50-year-old mobile app. So what we've done is we took a old antique car, and they have a thing called resto mods, where they take an old car, but they put a brand new crate engine, a Corvette LS1 engine in there. And now we've got something new and cool, an opportunity here that just got missed to really paint what the real, capabilities could be all about. Not that I have an opinion on this, but anyway.
All right, Paul, Mr. The Venerable.
Well, a few things. And one of the things, to Adrian's point, I think is really important, is that they did miss their vision. Again, and Brian's right. Look, this was a tech keynote, and there was no question about that. But the thing that Peg has done in the past with those kind of keynotes is maintain a really, really, really high quality corporate narrative over time. Like if you go all the way back, BPM, CRM, CX, customer experience, customer engagement, where they're kind of staying now. In fact, there was a lot of, we call it subtle corporate narrative pieces to what they did do around customer engagement. They kept it subtle. It was kind of interwoven, but not focused on per se, other than, a blueprint example, which is not what I meant as focus. But on the other hand, the long-term vision, actually let's call it the next phase of their corporate narrative, so to speak, is autonomous service. And yesterday Don Sherman said, we've been talking about autonomous, the autonomous enterprise, so to speak, for 4 years, and that's not even true. It's 7 years. they've been talking about, because I did a presentation on stage with Jeff Nicholson, who's actually the one who first presented it at Pega, as the closing session of the entirety of PegaWorld about 7 years ago, literally on that subject. So it's been around quite a while. And that is where they theoretically have been going. There was nothing to that effect. That said, that the product itself, the Blueprint product, remains my favorite product, because if you actually look at the very last slide, I think that Kareem had, there were 4 uses of it in a row, right? And they were all very different uses, and they were all capable, right? Very capable. Again, I am probably a bigger fan than anyone here maybe of the legacy application change. And Brian, you're right. I mean, it was a 50-year-old code, but the fact that it could actually be done was something that to me was kind of important. And so I am always I'm very often in awe of Pega's technical capabilities and their intelligence at finding something that actually is valuable to people, that has an outcome that could be quite useful, as opposed to, just pushing something on somebody into somebody's face. So I did appreciate that a great deal, and thought that that was, the most important or the best part of the keynote. And then finally, the customer examples, Unilever, just lost me completely. I didn't even understand what the guy was. I understood what he was saying. I didn't understand what he meant, right? It's just, he's trying to talk about taking 3.4 billion people. And when he got to the point where he was trying to talk about it as personalized at the very end, he just gave some, some of those kind of hypey things you always hear that are supposed to be emotionally fun, emotionally appealing, but with absolutely no substance at all. And I didn't, it's not, I don't blame him. It's just, I think it was just handled. I didn't see it. And Vodafone, I saw it from the left brain, so to speak. Here's results we get operationally from using Blueprint, and that was helpful. But again, not much to it. The best part of this whole thing was Alan, really, when it boiled down to it. And to Alan Bergson's point about his storytelling, it was great. But then again, that he is that. So on the whole, I appreciate what I saw. I don't think they quite pulled off what they needed to. And I think, ultimately, if you're making a claim, look, it's what you say to people that you try to mentor, right? Look, you can say anything you want, but be prepared to defend everything you say. And they just weren't. It just wasn't there. Again, they weren't missing it. They just didn't have, how do I put it? They didn't say anything wrong. They just didn't accomplish what they supposedly were setting out to accomplish. But on the whole, again, Blueprint still stays, to me, their big it's their singular differentiator in the market right now. And I'll leave it at that.
Yeah, I think, and let me know if I'm sounding hazy.
No, you actually sound good now.
All right. I think the most unique part of this, compared to like all the other events we've gone to, and I think it kind of got stepped on because there's so many people, everybody's kind of talking about, oh man, they're taking COBOL, and it was actually it was a video of some dude illustrating what was going on with the COBOL program, and they ingested the video, and it kicked off part of that process. I thought that was really the thing that stuck to me the most. I mean, we were at ServiceNow a couple of weeks ago, and they were talking about the partnership with NVIDIA to be able to take PDFs and kind of, do a similar thing. All this kind of data can come in PDFs. They do a video of somebody doing a talk about this COBOL program, and they're able to take a video of that. I really thought that was really impressive. And when you think about, they just announced Blueprint just a year ago. I was there. I did a little demo of doing my first blueprint, to see how that's progressed. And once again, they do a really good job, and it's really Alan, but it's all the others, of kind of taking all the stuff that they've built their foundation on, the layer cake approach, the center out approach, and now all the stuff they're doing kind of with the blueprint as their foundation. You can see how all the things that they've built over the years have led up to this moment, and how they're still relevant, and they're still able to kind of talk that. So it doesn't feel like last year was a one story, and then this year is a completely different story because everybody is talking about one thing. You can literally see, if you've been here for a couple of years, how everything they've done is applied and helps them get to this next level. And I think that's, unfortunately, I think that might have got lost in some of the stuff that we're talking about. I think the Unilever part could have been, I think they really could have hit a home run with that if it was done a little differently. Considering Unilever, everybody knows them, everybody kind of has an idea what the size and scope is. And I think the guy was, charming, and
yes, he was.
And I think there was a good story to be told, but maybe it was just something was kind of lost there. So I don't think we got what we really wanted out of that. Of course, Alan is Alan. That's all I can say. He's always himself, and he's got charisma, and he's able to pull off any amount of time talking, whatever you want, he can do. Kareem is charismatic too. And I think the demo had highs and lows, let's put it like that. And unfortunately, I think some of the lows may have overshadowed the depth that the highs really could have hit, or I should say the heights that the highs really could have hit.
I think what you guys are hinting at is the missing X factor is, so what does this mean to me as a customer? And, am I going to use this tool to rebuild old applications, or am I using it to discover new opportunities to do really cool transformative things? And I could go on and on. And I think if the keynote had been structured more along the lines of, if you're a customer and you have this kind of a problem, here's how our tool sets have evolved to make that even less painless than ever before. And if you have this problem, here's a different way to look at it and use the tools. But right now, what we got, I think what happened, and I'm agreeing with pretty much everyone, I think, on the call, that by leading with the technology and then backing into what the business problem is, I'm still a little fuzzy on Unilever's business problem, even though I've helped clients who are in similar situations. We would talk about the business problem first, then figure out specifically what kind of initiatives we're going to tackle going from there. And in the Unilever deal, it was not clear to me exactly what they were solving for, right, and therefore why this technology was so purpose-built almost, for knocking that out of the park.
Go ahead, I'm sorry.
Bottom line, I think they had a great opportunity, and I think somewhere down the line, I think we're all saying the same thing. The messaging got muddled up. We're not complaining about the technology. It's just the messaging and the methods they used to present it.
Yeah.
Sorry, Paul.
No, you go ahead.
The other thing too, that you've got to figure that there are a lot of people with Pega developer on their business card from the days we used to have business cards, sitting that audience looking at Blueprint, taking their work away, right? The 10% efficiency means less work for them, right? So there was an opportunity too to talk about how do you use Blueprint as the foundation to scale your knowledge of the business and really deliver more, sort of creating that new career for you as a digital transformation expert based on your knowledge of code. That could have been a way to make people feel a lot more excited about the opportunity for them as part of that Pega community that they missed.
And, to that point too, I think the funny thing is, I think we're all a little bit frustrated really, because on the one hand, you see the elements of some amazing things with them. And Brent, you actually, when you were talking about the, you were talking about without talking about the corporate narrative, you were talking about their corporate narrative, right? Which is consistently, brilliantly pulled off, right? And so, with them, what they've done over all these years is they don't churn lots of customers because like if you look, the negative of all this is, you ever looked at when SAP acquired SuccessFactors, if you remember, SAP spent 2 years fixing the one speak that, what was the name of the CEO of SuccessFactors?
Lars,
that one speech Lars made about on-premise is dead, the cloud is everything, and he was talking to 30,000 on-premise customers of SAP, right? So, and SAP told me it took them 2 years to repair damage of that speech alone. That's a discontinuous corporate narrative, right? Where Pega has never failed on the evolution of the narrative, and this is an advancement of a similar narrative. There, hopefully next year will be, if they're going to say autonomous service vision, then that's what they'll talk to, But so you see that it's still continuing as far as it goes on the one hand. On the other hand, you see the kind of potential brilliance of the product and some real uses for it. But on the other hand, to the way the messaging got arranged, and again, the Unilever guy, it's not his problem. It was Unilever's just so big that it's almost too big for a case study to even talk to it, right? I mean, to get on stage and talk about it. It's almost that big, unless there was, to Brian's point, a very specific, singular business case to be made about something.
And you know
other
what?
than that, it's just too big.
Yeah, well, that's where those video vignette kind of could come in, and you could make sure that the thing that you want covered or highlighted and focus on, let's get it nailed down in a quick video vignette, 2 or 3 minutes, and it speaks directly to that, and then you can bring back and have the after conversation. I think Salesforce is kind of really specialized in that kind of thing. It's a big keynote, we'll have a vignette, and then we'll have a little conversation. That way, it keeps everybody focused and on point. The other thing I think was missing is at a lot of these events, keynotes, opening keynotes, there's a partner, a strategic partner, where I keep going back to Oracle, where they had AWS on stage, and you see how, because this is such a big thing, we understand we can't do it alone, and there's at least a portion of it that's dedicated to how we work with other enterprise software companies, because we know that you have other applications. We want to show how we're working with it, and that's one that's missed a lot, and well, not a lot, but significantly. And it's usually the kind of the mid-market enterprise players that don't seem to bake that part into the keynote, what I think is really important to do, though.
Well, I think that's partly, honestly, because of their historic partner strategy does not measure up to any of the companies we talk to. They have been very, you take a look at every company they were basically calling strategic was a consulting company, every last one. They weren't thinking for ecosystem partners. They were thinking for basically monetary partners with practices, right? And it's not the same at all. I mean, so, I mean, when you looked at, I think recent years, companies like Oracle have been brilliant about it. Really, I mean, they have just figured it out. ServiceNow, I remember 8 years ago when I started advising ServiceNow, you know what their partner program was? Nothing. And then they went to the guy who ran customer service management moved over to be partners, and he had 4. And then I said, why don't you expand? That 4's not even close. He said, no, we're just going to focus on these 4, and we're going to stay that way for years to come. I said, it's a mistake. You need to expand. Well, when McDermott came over, that changed completely, as you saw. And now they're building out a strategy that's not only ecosystem, but platform, integration around in particular around Now and whatever other AIs they're using. So Pega doesn't have that, and they haven't. Now, I have heard that they're changing all that, and hopefully we may even hear something in this conference about something, but I don't know. I don't know. I literally have no idea what that would be. But I have heard that they recognize that, and they've changed some management people, and that guy we saw, John Higgins.
Last night. Yeah,
That guy, yeah, he's kind of in charge of the whole thing and customer. He's like the big overview in customer success, but he's brought in to make these changes, right? So hopefully we'll see Pega transform it. It's just to me, it's always been something I've talked to them so many times about it, because it drives me up a wall that they don't have, because they're real. This is a really good company, okay, and I really, really appreciate how they think about things, but I just there's those pieces that they just don't complete, right? And I think they'd be a hell of a lot bigger than $1 billion, or whatever. That's roughly their revenue, I assume, if they do these things. And I think I always feel a little bit of frustration with them because of that. I want them to do really well, and I just think they miss these things.
Any last thoughts, anybody, before we head out?
I'm going to pick up on Paul's last comment real quick and just say, I agree with you, Paul. Super strong, super solid. Their expertise in process automation and workflow stuff is exemplary.
Yes.
They've had some enormous clients over the years, and they have used their some of their key partners to get them into some massive accounts at the Defense Department kinds of things, and big government, big insurance companies. We saw the insurance stuff. That's huge in their firm.
Yep.
But to make it go broader, I think they're going to have to do more and embrace different kinds of partners who can move them into other spaces and sectors. So, okay. All right. So I can't believe it, Paul and I agree on something. Okay. I think Adrian's been chomping at the bit to
No, yeah. I mean, the thing,
Texas synergy.
The thing the thing that occurs to me, like going back to what Brent was saying, and also what Paul was alluding to around this consistent messaging over the years, if you have that perspective, which I'm assuming pretty much all of us do, that I wouldn't be surprised if all the pieces fall into place after kind of the keynotes in day 2, and you're like going, but why do I feel slightly kind of like undersatisfied by day 1? But I think the day 2, based on what I know about the briefings and things, I think it's probably all going to fit into place.
Yeah, and Brent and I have actually discussed this with other vendors. That very same thing. The day 1 keynote is the opportunity to present to the biggest part of the world that they're going to present to, and to have the bulk of it happen on day 2 or 3, when most people honestly are not watching, right? Is just wrong. I mean, it's not Pega's problem. All the vendors do that, right?
Well, they try to spread it out to keep people there, but you never get a second chance to make that first impression, You know
100%. What? Do what Adobe does and just put sneaks on the last day. That'll keep people there, right? You don't have to leave out the most important stuff that will actually. I still remember years ago, another SAP event I was at, remember when the rumor was floating that SAP is going to buy Salesforce? So McDermott came in, and there was a briefing to all of us guys, and some of you were probably there. And if you remember, he said, we're not going to buy Salesforce, and he mocked them. And within about 30 seconds, SAP's stock price dropped about $50, right? Right. I mean, that's what I'm saying, though. People watch those things, right? They watch them. And you lose opportunity if you don't get it. Look, I understand you have a limited amount of time, so be a little bigger picture if you have to be, but get it in. But look, I don't have to prepare these things, but luckily, but nonetheless, I don't think I'm wrong.
Any last thoughts before we head on out? All right, so there's, as Adrian alluded, there's, I guess, more keynotes tomorrow. We may be back, we may not, but we are doing a live version of the CRM Playaz. I think later today we're doing one with Tara DeZao. I just like saying her last name for some reason.
She's one of the greats of this company, man. She's doing the best.
She is. So that should be at, wow, it's going to be kind of late. It's 5 p.m. our time. It's like primetime viewing, I guess.
So, Adrian, you can stay up and watch?
No fear. No fear. That's it. I'm like,
but yeah, we'll be back tomorrow. We might do another keynote, and we are doing another CRM Playaz. It'll be earlier in the day, thank God. It'll be like 1 o'clock Eastern time with Matt Healy, who's somebody we've never had on the show before, so it'll be cool. All right. So on behalf of the crew here, I'm Brent Leary.
I'm Paul Greenberg.
We are the CRM Playaz, and we'll see you later. Still in Vegas.
Bye, all. See you downstairs, some of you.